Hello guys, my name is Solarts. Welcome back to another video, and today I just want to talk about RWBY's Forgotten Plot. It feels so good to be back. I haven't uploaded in a while. A lot of things have been going on, but yeah, I'm positive you guys just want to hear about this video. So with that being said, let's just hop directly into it. This video talks about Volume 2 and 3. It kind of talks about all of RWBY as a whole because these are major changes that probably could affect the show, how people perceive certain events, how people perceive certain characters and moments, but we're gonna focus on Volume 2 and 3. So with that being said, let's jump into the first event, the Vytal Festival. Now, the Vytal Festival was a amazing thing in RWBY. It was really cool. It was your classic anime tournament, and it was just amazing to see. But with the Vytal Festival came a lot of changes in the script. One of them was Jaune versus Yatsuhashi, but Jaune did not get to fight this guy. Jaune was instead left to fight Team Bronze. Now, who is Team Bronze? Well, we've only seen these characters once, or like maybe twice, but they're not important, not as important as Team Coffee. So why am I talking about this? Because as we've seen, Team Coffee had some development in this series. They were supposed to be shown off way more, far less than Team RWBY and Juniper, but they were supposed to be there, supposed to be stronger and more capable students, seemingly more capable than Team RWBY themselves because of how older they are. Instead, we got Juniper versus Team Bronze. Now, before anybody says, well, Juniper versus Team Bronze was a good fight, yeah, it had its moments, it had some cool things, but why is Jaune versus Yatsuhashi better and Juniper versus Team Coffee also better? Well, first off, Team Coffee is a team that is more important than Team Bronze. We would see Team Coffee more. They are characters we're more accustomed to. Also, this is the first time we have seen Jaune be in combat like this. Jaune has not fought good. Jaune has had help in fights, and he's also still looked a bit ragdoll-ish, still a little trolly, but we have enjoyed how he does fight. We have seen his progression, his improvement, but we've never seen Jaune fight like this. And even when Juniper fought Team Bronze, Jaune was more leading than fighting. He had a lot of jokey moments, and he was still his usual Jaune self, but we never seen Jaune fight like this, ever in the series. He has some cool moments post Volume 3, but he has never looked this good of a fighter. I think if we got Jaune versus Yatsuhashi and Jaune was fighting like this, I think this would have shown Jaune's progression, how the training with Pyrrha paid off. It would have gave much more care and importance to a team we already care for, and it would have showed how strong Team Juniper is with Pyrrha along their side compared to a team such as Team Coffee. Neo versus Yang Rematch. I bet you guys wasn't expecting them to have a rematch. Some people may have sat here and said, well, I knew they were gonna have a rematch, but I bet you weren't expecting it in Volume 3. So, to make this statement clear really quickly before I continue, and I know some people are probably going to be looking at this and saying, well, these are just differences that happen when you're creating a series. Things change and things get placed in a better order. And this is why I have the pros and cons up on the screen for people to see, just so you know why we can't get these things anymore, just so you know why it would have been better to use in the moments than take it out of the moment. I fully agree that certain things need to be moved around, but I don't think certain things can be used now, and this goes right into Neo and Yang. We didn't even get this combat or level of footage during the Curious Cat scene, and now people are saying that Neo isn't going to be a returning character. Please hire me, Rooster Teeth. Please. I got the sauce. I know what I'm doing. Hire me. I got you, bro. I got you. But yes, Neo and Yang had a rematch. Now, Yang got embarrassed their first fight. Didn't land a single hit. We've seen Yang get absolutely destroyed. And I feel like this fight, this rematch would have came somewhere in Volume 3. And if it didn't come during Volume 3, it probably could have been reserved for something else, something down the line, which it was never done, which is a waste in my opinion. Yang had did a lot of growing during this time, being told to stop using your semblance so recklessly, be told to fight smarter, how to defend yourself properly. Maybe Yang would have won this fight. Maybe Yang would have lost this fight. Maybe Yang would have at least landed a hit. We do not know, but it would have showed Yang's improvement, and that's what you would like to see. However, we've never gotten this. We've never gotten to see Yang's improvement and this faded rivalry with these characters. characters. Sun versus Pyrrha. Now I bet a lot of people didn't expect this fight, and I just want to sit here and say this fight looks amazing, and I would have appreciated to see this in the Vytal Festival. Sun is a fan favorite. He's been a fan favorite since the Roman torture fight. When people seen his weapon, people fell in love with this character. He was already cool. He already had some involvement with Blake, so people liked him. People thought he was cool, especially because Sun Wukong. You get the reference. It's very easy. So to see him take on Pyrrha, the person that's supposed to be OP, one of the greatest students out here, a fan favorite versus what we consider the strongest, this was a fight that seemed so amazing, seemed so cool, and we never got it. And this is a fight that we can never get. Pyrrha is gone. Sun hasn't been here. And sure, maybe Sun could use these techniques against some other side character, but it would just be a sad, pathetic villain that isn't Pyrrha, that doesn't fight like Pyrrha, but just used to throw this animation out there. And that's very depressing, because we could have used this animation in the moment. It would have mattered more. It would have been more cooler. It would have been better. It would have showed us just the gaps between these characters. I personally think this is a very big missed opportunity. I think this would have looked amazing and been amazing to see during these fights, but we just never got it. We just never got it. Raven Branwen. Now I bet a lot of people wasn't expecting Raven Branwen, and because why would you? Now if you didn't know, there was a after credit scene with Raven in there. This was played off as just a dream, as just a figment of the imagination, treated like it was never there. But as we've seen, Raven was supposed to play an involvement in Volume 2. What involvement did she have? I personally don't know. I personally can't say, but I believe in my personal feelings that she was supposed to be a good and bad character. She was supposed to sit here, explain the truth to Yang, to be a mother for Yang now, while sort of probably being a bit antagonistic, probably there to be a more rough version of Crow, probably there to warn characters of what was to come, or probably there to be a mentor for these students. And that leads me to Raven versus Juniper. Now we do not understand why Raven was fighting Juniper. We don't. I'm gonna go off the limb and say they're fighting because of training. I can't find a reason for Raven to fight Team Juniper with no reason. And because Team RWBY isn't involved, my only instinct either goes she's interested in Pyrrha, or she wishes to train this group for what's to come. In my opinion, these are the two most logical answers. But in Volume 2, they erased that scene, and we didn't get anything about Raven until Volume 5. This is very shaky because it could have played with Raven's character as a whole. She could have been a completely different character from what we know now. She could have been the same but just introduced earlier. We have no clue on the matter, but this is a big change that we don't know what could have happened. I'm only going to go off of what we have now, but from Volume 1 through 3, Raven has always looked out for Yang. Raven has always tried to protect Yang. She hasn't been in her life, but she's been watching from afar, still caring for her, still protecting her. But then they retconned it to where Raven is only protecting her for one time in her life. But all of her past actions show that she's been watching Yang since a little girl, protecting her, seeing how she's been doing, seeing how she's growing. And Raven is a very complicated character for this, and I love Raven as a character for this. But I feel like she wasn't supposed to be the antagonist they made her out to be in Volume 5. I felt like she was supposed to be more helpful during this time. I feel like Raven was supposed to show her true colors during this time, and she wasn't supposed to be as complicated as they made her out to be. Yang versus Adam, the fight that everybody likes. Now we're not talking about the Volume 5 one or Volume 6 one or this. We're talking about the Volume 3 one. And before anybody asks how the hell is this a fight, well, it was supposed to be a fight. If you look at the clips that I'm playing on screen now, this was parts of the fight that we had before Monty passed away. This fight was supposed to be cool. This fight was supposed to be badass. It looks really cool. It looks really badass. And it was supposed to just be super dope. and then you were supposed to get the arm cut off scene. And a lot of things happen after Monty's death. A lot of things were changed after his death. A lot of things, for better or for worse, were just cut completely. This is one of the things where they cut out a large portion of that fight, only added the arm slice, and then took the rest of it and put it for their rematch much later on. In my personal opinion, I think it would have been better if we had Yang's versus Adam's full fight back in Volume 3. It would have showed us the power, it would have showed us the difference, it would have showed us how headstrong he is. It would have made Adam look much cooler. Adam's already a very cool character. We've seen this from the trailers. He visually looks pleasing, he looks strong, he looks badass, he just has a dope fighting style. But this would have really shown the differences. Seeing Yang's progression, seeing how good Yang is, but to see her get demolished by Adam, show off that speed, show off that strength, show off the differences in these characters. I think that would have been really amazing for Volume 3. However, they cut it and used a portion of it for Adam's death, and that's sort of fine. My personal opinion, I would have liked it for Volume 3, and then you create something completely original for Volume 5. Now, before anybody comes at me and asks, well, where's your sources? Where's this information coming from? It's mainly coming from scrap footage found on the internet, and it's coming from Shane Newvile. I know a lot of people hate Shane because of his letter, but I also have to defend Shane for that letter. A lot of people sit here and say, well, Shane wasn't in the right state of mind. He was depressed, he was going through a lot at home, he was going through a lot with work, he just wasn't there. This is just hate, negativity, he's just doing this to badmouth people. But if you sit here and you take a look at that letter and you sit here and stop trying to defend everything and just read it for what it is, accept it for what it is, see the words he said, compare it to the series we've gotten, compare it to what they've done, I think it makes sense. I'm not gonna sit here and say everything Shane said was correct or everything Shane said was right, but I can confidently say I believe most of the things he said was right and or true. Just because someone is depressed doesn't make them a liar. Just because somebody's dealing with a lot of stress doesn't mean they're a liar. You have to remember, this is a 36-page document. Are you really saying 36 pages are filled with lies just because you didn't like his statement? Are you really gonna say 36 pages are filled with lies just because a man's depressed? Just because you're depressed doesn't make you a liar. Just because you're dealing with a lot doesn't make you a liar. I'm not gonna sit here and say he doesn't hold resentment towards Rooster Teeth. I fully believe he does. I fully believe he held, at least during that moment, resentment towards Rooster Teeth. And although his intention wasn't to throw anybody under the bus, his intention was just to clear his friend's name, share off his thoughts, his statements, his opinions. He wasn't attempting to come off hostile, but he did. However, just because his intention was something good, but his words were laced with something venomous, doesn't take away from the truth of his statements. You may not like the statement he said, but it is very hard to deny the statements he said. A lot of the things he said were foretold and have been shown now. A lot of the things he spoke about has happened publicly and or not publicly. So if anybody wants to question, is this word reliable? Yes, it is. Whether it be from the hard drives, because they took his hard drives and they scanned them. They took Monty's hard drives and they scanned them. They have all of their work. They have everything they've done together, but they have yet to use it. The only time I've seen them use animation from Monty is during the Yang versus Adam scene. But they have so much more of his stuff, so much more of his work, his thoughts, his ideas. If they're barely using the choreography he was known for, the thing that people said, this is what makes RWBY RWBY. The statements they've set themselves, which was Monty has some of the greatest choreography in this series, we can't replicate that. But you have the tools to replicate that. You have the tools to extend upon that, but you don't. So, is this word reliable? If you put the pieces together and you sit here and you line up everything from quick deduction, I believe so. So, what will RWBY be with all of these details included? Frankly, I don't know. I feel like we probably would still be at the point we are now, but I think a lot of things would have had more impact, more depth, more character moments, and frankly, just more chemistry. I still think Salem would have been the powerhouse she is. I still think villains would have turned out the way they are now. I think things would have been done better, at least in terms of execution. But yeah, this is the forgotten plot in RWBY. Sorry if you expected me to talk about like Faunus stuff and or just plots they don't go deep into. Because for this video, I really just wanted to talk about things they just scrapped, just forgotten ideas that they just threw away that could have probably made characters feel a lot more impactful or made moments feel a lot more impactful. But yeah, this video was extremely fun to make. I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace.